What is up, Janksters? It's your boy Graham, also known as HamHawks42 on the internet, and today we are talking about a new product that Wizards just announced that is going to be released in October. That's actually the return of an old product, and that product is called Game Night. If you're not familiar with Game Night, it's a service. It's a product that they launched a number of years ago now that is actually an all-in-one box designed for newer players that can get them into the game. It comes with 5 60-card single-color decks, one of each color. That way, new players have an opportunity to test different decks, get an idea of what each color does. It also comes with 5 spin-down life counters and a rule book, along with a couple of tokens and whatnot for the different decks, so that new players have everything they need right out of the box to play a game. So up to 5 players can actually get together and treat it just like a board game night, hence the name, and play and learn how to play Magic the Gathering. So it's pretty great. It's a really cool product, and it's designed for newer players specifically. Now, you may think, okay, that's awesome, but as an enfranchised player, because here I am watching a YouTube video about Magic the Gathering, clearly I've been playing the game for a little while, maybe this product isn't for me. Well, in order to sell this product to more enfranchised players, probably with the hopes that they'll bring other people in to try it out, now that they have the box, they can bring it over to friends' houses and whatnot. I'm sure that's part of the plan. But in order to encourage enfranchised players to pick this up, they are introducing 5 unique cards that are only available in these boxes. Now, they will also be legal in Legacy, Vintage, and Commander. So as you can imagine, if these cards become staples in any of these formats, then all of a sudden it's going to be it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be very powerful. Or this set's probably going to sell very well. But if they aren't, then it's probably not going to sell amongst enfranchised players, and it'll continue its goal of getting new players on board. So also, singles will no doubt be available if you just want to pick up one of these cards for your commander deck or something of that nature. They will be available later on. I have no doubt people will be cracking these. But as you can imagine, with the decks being starter designed, they're probably going to be filled with a lot of cards that aren't particularly valuable, but are good for introducing players to the fundamentals of the game. So one of the things I want to do today is take a look at the new cards that are going to be included in each of these decks and see, are they worth it? Do these cards move the needle for newer players, or for enfranchised players, I should say? For newer players, I think the box is great. I feel like it gives newer players everything they need to get started, and I absolutely love that. So if you are new to Magic the Gathering, or if you have friends who you know will love Magic the Gathering but have never tried it before, this is a great opportunity to get them on board. So let's take a look at the 5 cards that are going to be included in this set. I keep calling it a set. It's not a set. This is a product. This is a new product that is going to be out there and available. So in the different colors, let's start with green. We're looking at Immaril Elfheim Elite. For 2 green, you get a 3/3 legendary elf warrior. Also, I think all 5 of these are legendary creatures, which I think is smart because these could all become your commander as well. They will also be available in foil because this is a promo product. If I'm not mistaken, they will only be available in foil. So much like those old school commander staples that were the face cards of their commander decks that were only available in foil for the longest time, possibly some of them still are. These will be in a similar vein. Like you'll be able to find foil versions of them, and unless they get reprinted, they will only be foil. Anyway, Immaril Elfheim Elite. 2 green, 3/3. Whenever Immaril Elfheim Elite attacks, it gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of other elves you control. And you may have Immaril assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. So this is an elf Thorn Elemental. That's fantastic. In your elf commander decks, you are going to want this card. It is just really solid. Now, it is a 4-drop, so that's hefty, no question. But if you have elfed out and done exactly what your elf ball deck is trying to do, by the time you're attacking with Immaril, you probably have 10 other elves, just hypothetically, in which case he becomes a 13/13 that can go straight for the dome. That's awesome. So it's kind of a win more card. Like, it's definitely great at delivering the final blow if you are already on top in your elf deck. If you are behind, however, it doesn't really do much for you. So that's a symbol of a card that is appealing to new players. Like, Timmy gamers are going to love this guy, but at the end of the day, It's probably not going to see any legacy play, you know, in like legacy elf ball. I don't think this fits that at all. So you are not going to see a demand skyrocket for it there. But in Commander, it's sweet. Like if you're a Timmy player who just loves like the elf go burr strategy, I think this is a really cool addition to it. And I love the fact that they're bringing that Thorn Elemental evasion ability back, where it's like you can block it, but it can punch your face anyway. I love that. I think it's a really cool ability, and it fits really nicely in these starter sets. Anyway, I like it a lot. It exemplifies green in a cool way, and I think it's a neat way for newer players to really get a feel for what green does. Next up, I want to take a look at the blue card. This is Maeve, Insidious Singer. This is 2 blue for a 3/4 Siren. Notably, it is a Siren. If I were to look at the artwork, I would have assumed Merfolk, because it's clearly like half human, in this case half octopus. I don't know that if there's any rule. Actually, no, I suppose a human octopus hybrid is a cephalid. Anyway, so I had assumed Merfolk here. I was mistaken. It is in fact a Siren. I think that was intentional. And they have the ability, pay 2 and a blue, goad target creature. Whenever that creature attacks one of your opponents this turn, you draw a card. So it's a goad creature, 3/4 for 4. Stat line's not great in proper blue fashion. It's a neat ability. In one-on-one, goad isn't particularly good, but if you are getting the battlefield together where you have 5 players sitting around the table, this could be very powerful. So I think this is like straight commander. This is just obviously a commander card, and not even a particularly good commander because it's monocolor. So I think the card is very meh. Like I'm not enamored by it. Goad can be a very powerful mechanic in multiplayer games, but I don't know. I'm not really seeing it here. I think if you can goad the biggest threat on the table to ensure it doesn't hit you the next turn, that's a big deal. Yeah, and this also teaches you a very valuable lesson about timing your activated abilities. You want to be able to do this on your opponent's turn, and it teaches you the value of waiting until your opponent's turn and activating it. That way you draw the extra card. So I think it's a valuable lesson. It's a neat mechanic. I think this is good in multiplayer casual games, but that's it. That's where you're going to see it. So it might have a little bit of value in Commander, but I don't know. So far, I got to be honest, with these 2 cards that we've seen, I think this is shaping up to be a very interesting new player experience, but I'm not seeing anything that, as an enfranchised player, moves the needle for me to want to get my hands on this product. We then have, so the next card is the red card. This is Nagi Draco Zealot. It is 1 red for a 3/3 Kobold Shaman. Dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and whenever Nagi, I'm sure I'm going to pronounce it a dozen times differently here, Draco Zealot attacks, if you control 3 or more dragons until the end of turn, Nagi becomes a dragon with base power and toughness 5/5 and gains flying. So this is an early support piece in that it makes your dragons cheaper. That's great. And once your deck is doing the thing and you're getting the dragons out, it buffs up and becomes a game-ending threat in its own right. So again, this falls under the same challenge as Immoral, the green elf that we looked at earlier. This feels kind of like a win more card. The making dragons cost less is good, but there are better cards out there that have that effect on them. So again, I just don't think this moves the needle. Also, being locked at 2 red pips means that this is really locked into being like mono red dragons, which is not bad. Like if you're going to be in a dragon support color, red's where you want to be. But at the same time, in Commander, or, in Commander, having access to some of the other colors in Dragon specifically can be very, very potent, which is why we see so many Dragon Commanders be all 5 colors, because, well, there are a lot of dragons across all of Magic in all the different colors, and having access to all of them makes a lot of sense. So Nagi is one of those cards. I don't think he's going to be a particularly powerful commander. I think, in this context, in a beginner set, in a beginner deck, there are going to be new players who love this card, and that's great. That's exactly what it needs to be. So I think A+ design for what this card is supposed to be, because the first time a player swings with Nagi and it transforms into a dragon alongside 3 other attacking dragons, they're going to feel untouchable. And that's fantastic, because those moments of glee that new players get is what keeps them coming back to the game. So I gotta say, in a new player product, this design is perfect. I love it. But don't go running out to get 4 copies of this for your legacy deck. It's just, yeah, it just doesn't, don't do that. All right, next up. We have Vogar, Necropolis Tyrant. It is a 4/4 3 black with Menace, or as I like to call it, Menace, because I like to be that guy. Whenever another creature dies during your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Vogar, Necropolis Tyrant. And whenever Vogar dies, draw a card for each +1/+1 counter on it. Now this one, being a 5-drop means it's going to be a lot tougher to get this thing on the battlefield in non-casual formats. In competitive formats, a 5-drop just doesn't really hit, especially when we're looking at Legacy and Vintage being our only 60-card options for this card. So once again, this looks like a decent Commander card. If you're running zombies in Commander with, or not even necessarily zombies, if you're running a sacrifice, like aristocrat style setup with this, that ability is not that's no joke. Whenever another creature dies, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. Awesome. And then when it dies, whether it's in combat or whether you sacrifice it, you draw a card for each +1/+1 counter. Once again, we've reached another design where new players are going to figure out the value of card advantage with this. They're going to understand the value of a 4/4 body, and Menace is also just an awesome keyword to introduce new players to. Very important stuff. And then the fact that it grows every time something dies, they're going to learn the value of sacrificing their own creatures and their own resources. That's huge, because that's a big time moment in a new player's life when they realize, like, oh, me getting to sacrifice my thing, like intellectually, like intuitively, you should think, well, if I have to sacrifice it, I'm losing something. Like literally, I'm sacrificing it. This should be a downside, right? But the truth is, it's just not. Like, it's just not. Being able to sacrifice something at will means that you get death triggers, you get stuff in your graveyard which you can recur later. Like, it gives you all kinds of resources, not to mention when you're sacrificing things, you're usually doing it to get some other type of value. Think of cards like Deadly Dispute, for example. You sacrifice a thing, you draw 2 cards and create a treasure token. If the thing that you sacrifice has a death trigger on it, you get that too. It's just all value. And Vogar is a great example. When you have another creature on the battlefield, you sacrifice something, Vogar gets bigger. Sweet. And then if you sacrifice Vogar later, you can draw a bunch of cards. That is super cool. I think that's very powerful. And again, there are budding black mages out there that are going to find this card and just think, this is the greatest. This is so much fun. And that's awesome. That's exactly what we need for this game. So I think this card is great. Again, much like some of the other cards that we've seen today, I just think for a new player, this is perfect. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, that's why we see cards like this. Like, we see big, splashy 5, 6, 7 drops in the new player starter decks, like throughout the course of the game, like historically, because they're fun. Like that moment when you pop, like when Vogar pops, if you've got it on the field and you sacrifice 2 or 3 things, and then it dies in combat and you draw a bunch of cards, like, you're on top of the world. It feels great, especially if you traded for whatever it's, going up against with in combat. And because it has Menace, it probably will. It'll probably take at least one thing down with it each time, which is awesome. Like, I think the design on this card is sweet, but again, for like casual play. Last up, we have Zamriel, Seraph of Steel. 2 white for a 3/4 flyer angel. As long as it's your turn, equipped creatures you control have indestructible. That's pretty cool. I like that. Now, again, we have a situation where for a new player, getting introduced to the concept of indestructible, it's like, my thing cannot be destroyed. This is going to be so sweet. And it feels that way at first. When you first get your hand on indestructible, you feel like, it feels you're untouchable, you're unstoppable, and it's just a beautiful place to be, right? Obviously, you learn toughness reduction, exile effects. Like, you learn that indestructible is not all it's cracked up to be, but at the end of the day, it is still very, very fun. And in this situation, it also teaches us the value of timing, because this only gives equipped creatures indestructible on your turn, which is encouraging you to be aggressive. This is just telegraphing to the white player, you want to get creatures on board, have them pick up swords or axes or whatever, and then attack. You want to be attacking. And in a white deck. I mean, the white weenie strategy, the mono white aggro decks, we've seen them over and over again. And this is just telegraphing to new players. That's what white does. White has some artifact synergies, some equipment synergies, but at the end of the day, you want to be getting creatures on board and you want to be attacking. Now, I have no doubt the deck is full of other things like disruption, maybe even some tax effects, because that's been very popular amongst white recently, especially in standard. Which I think is cool. Like, that's a piece of white's color identity that I think is important, and we should appreciate it and give it some more value. Because I think it's nice. That said, like, do I think there should be 4 Thalias in the starter deck for this? I don't know. At this point, actually, no, I don't think that would be wise. And also, they probably wouldn't print something that valuable in there. But anyway, the deck lists have not been submitted yet or have not been published yet. So as of this recording, I have not seen the full deck lists for these cards. We've just seen these face cards. But I gotta say, all in all, I feel like they do a phenomenal job of teaching newer players what these strategies are about that exemplify their colors in their own way. I gotta say, the one that I am least impressed with is the blue one, Mieve, the Insidious Singer. She's fine. Like, it's fine, but I don't think Goad is such a multiplayer-centric mechanic that if you are in a 1v1 scenario, I have a feeling if that is indicative of the style of card that's in the blue deck in this game night box, I have a feeling that Mieve is not, the mono blue deck is probably not the one people are going to be clamoring for, is my guess. But all in all, I'm impressed with this product. I think it's very cool. It is officially called Game Night Free for All, and it is currently listed on Amazon at $41 as of this recording. So very reasonably priced for 5 playable. I mean, these are going to be 5 legacy legal decks right out of the box. Now, do I think you should like roll up to a legacy tournament with one of these? Absolutely not. I would not recommend that. But as far as just having something to play with your friends right away and to get them involved in the game, I think this is an awesome introduction, and it has the makings of a really cool product, assuming the decks are built well. So that's really what it comes down to. But yeah, thank you so much for checking out the video. I appreciate it very, very much. If you have not already done so, please hit that subscribe button. I am closing in on the 1,000 subscriber mark, which I need to hit in order to join the YouTube partner program and actually get some of the cash from all those ads that they add to videos, regardless of whether they're paying the creator or not. But anyway, I'd like to get a little piece of the pie, and so the subscriptions help on that regard, on that front, so much. So thank you so much for watching the video, and I will catch you on the next one.